We're going to start things off with this. You know, one of the things that they talked about at D23 was WandaVision. No big surprise. They had already talked about WandaVision at Comic-Con, but they decided to talk about WandaVision a little bit more. And a couple of things that they revealed about WandaVision that I was actually quite excited about. Number one, Kat Dennings is joining the show, which I actually thought was great. I know some people do not like the Kat Dennings character. I find her adorable. So I like Kat Dennings. I was excited to hear about that. I was also excited to hear that Asian Jim Randall Park is reprising his role from Ant-Man 2, and he's going to be in WandaVision as well. I was excited to hear about that. But one of the more interesting things that they said about WandaVision was that it was going to be half sitcom, half epic Marvel. And during their presentation for it, they played like a bunch of Dick Van Dyke Show footage. And it's like, this is going to kind of be the feel. And, you know, Elizabeth Olsen came out and said, it's going to be wacky and crazy and all that kind of stuff. It's like, really? But anyway, furthering all that sort of stuff, they've just put out a new image, what they're calling a promotional poster for WandaVision. And it kind of feeds into that. It is wacky. And of course, they're doing the whole... The Force, or not The Force Awakens, but Phantom Menace thing where you've got the characters in the front with their shadow silhouette in the background showing who and what they really are. You got that red glow coming from the television, the very, 60s style sitcom kind of feel coming from it, which just only kind of adds into what they were talking about at D23 about all this. Rob, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this sort of a approach, if you will, about it, the sitcom thing, alternate reality. I know some House of M stuff has been mentioned here, but anyway, Rob, you're hearing about all this from D23, but you're adding on top of that now this new image. What's going through your head? What are you thinking about?
I think this looks great. I think it's going to be very odd. Remember, we haven't seen Vision since he's been killed. Or he had the Infinity Stone plucked,
by the way.
Plucked from his head. And, of course, Wanda suffered from the blip, and she comes back. I think we're going to see what is the fallout, because we've seen the idea that, everybody's happy about coming back after being snapped away for 5 years. I mean, Wanda Maximoff, remember, has never been totally really right in the head since her brother died, at least in the MCU. And then after her experience of that, when she comes back, finding out when she's unsnapped, finding out Vision is still gone or wherever Vision is. And I think maybe this is some kind of an extended form of therapy for the two of them, trying to have domestic bliss. It harks back to the Vision and Scarlet Witch comics. And then, of course, they've said this show leads directly in to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which leads me to believe that WandaVision is not necessarily going to end well. It's going to end in perhaps a state of chaos or something even worse. Whether it leads to House of M, I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm really excited because this does seem crazy, bonkers, weird. And if we get a cross between Legion meets the MCU, meets the House of M, and you're dealing with the fact that could be, mentally at least, the most powerful being in the MCU now, at least in terms of what her mental powers, her reality warping powers are capable of, this could be some awesomeness.
And don't forget the wacky 60s sitcom element to it as well.
Exactly. I mean, that's right out of a Twilight Zone episode. Like, let's try it. It's a good life. It's a very good life. Now get into the cornfield. This could be some crazy stuff, John.
Chris, you heard about all this stuff, but now you're seeing the image as well. What kind of thoughts and ideas are going through your head?
Oh, I'm so excited. Like Rob touched on, manipulation powers, which we haven't really seen from Scarlet Witch in the series.
Yeah, mostly as of right now, that's not really part of her power set in the MCU
yet. She's got, energy bursts that can throw things, and she can move stuff. It seems like telekinesis sometimes. It seems like other things. So I'm really excited to get back to her roots of actual reality manipulation, because House of M is one of the craziest, most bonkers comics in the world. So if we get more of that in this, with a lot of that Dick Van Dyke flair, it's going to be such a fun show.
Again, I was so taken aback during the presentation when they were showing Dick Van Dyke footage with Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore and doing their wacky stuff. And they said, that's going to be WandaVision. It's like, all right. Oh, and on top, I mentioned Randall Park and Kat Dennings. One of my favorite announcements about it, though, was Catherine Hahn. Because and I love Catherine Hahn. To me, this woman can do no wrong. And the way Kevin Feige described it, he goes, and in every sitcom, you need a wacky neighbor. And then they introduced Catherine Hahn. I'm like, this just couldn't get any better. Like, this to me is just glorious.
John, did they say anything about this sitcom element? Is it a product of her mind?
They gave no hint at that whatsoever, one way or the other.
If it's like this, it's a good life thing, and this is a reality that she's created for herself. Like, it isn't Vision at all. It's her resurrected image of the world that she wants to now live in because of everything that's happened to her. She's been so damaged that this is her psychological prison she's created for herself. It could be really cool.
It could. The one thing I think they need to avoid, though, the one thing, like, there are different ways to do this, lots of ways to skin this cat. But what they cannot do, I believe, is go through the whole season and in the final act of the last episode go, it was all just a vision. Like, if they do it Matrix style where it's in and out, where it's clearly communicating to the audience. Like, if Vision's not real and it's all just in this recreated world of hers, this reality she wants to live in. If they let the audience in on that and they go kind of Matrix, we're in the Matrix, now we're in the real, now we're on the Nebuchadnezzar, now we're in the Matrix, now we're on the if they do that, that's cool. But I think they're going to piss a lot of people off if they try to pull this thing where they go the whole season one way and just at the end they pull, what was it, Dallas that did that? Or what was it? It was just a dream.
But the title says it all, doesn't it? It's her vision.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's also the name of the character.
Is it though?
I think it's a double entendre. I think it's a double entendre. Question here is, guys, what do you think about all this stuff we're hearing about WandaVision? This is like a wackiness level, potentially, that we haven't seen or in the MCU at this point. It could be really exciting. What are you guys thinking about it right now? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.